all the expenses that
Warm good afternoon to all of you. I am Sakshi, welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter Middle East and First View Group to day 2 of the CNI Energy Show Middle East 2022 conference. Hope you all had a great time networking with your peers today. I take the pleasure to thank our partner Clenergy for extending their immense support to organize this event. As we all are aware, the rally cry for climate change and energy volatility is surging, and in this scenario, the only way of operating is by adopting sustainable energy management. CNI solar PV users consume a significant amount of energy in the Middle East markets. The residential sector accounts for 41% of the total power demand, followed by the CNI sectors at 21% and 20% respectively. To discuss these concerns for a secure energy future in the Middle East region and to initiate a dialogue about the technology trends in the CNI solar market in Middle East, we have a proficient panel today on the second day of the CNI Energy Show. I would request my team now to play the promotional video for Clenergy. Thank you, team, for playing that video. And now, without any further delay, I would like to invite Mr. Jacob, Global Marketing Manager from Trinergy, to give his presentation. Over to you, sir. You're on mute, Mr. Jacob.
Apologies. Thank you, Sakshi, for that introduction, and thank you to the Solar Quarter for putting on the show for the second day. Massive pleasure for Clenergy to have the opportunity to present again to your audience. I'll just share my screen there with everyone here. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay. Can you see my full screen there, Sakshi?
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. So my name is Samir Jacob. I look after marketing and the brand for Clenergy globally. Coming to you live from Melbourne, Australia. First, massive thanks for everyone for having us here today. Let me just take you through a brief presentation there for Clenergy for us as a brand. In terms of our mission, our core value is to be that enabler for governments, public enterprises, all the EPCs and installation companies out there in terms of seeking carbon neutrality. Every government entity, private sector enterprise has their own targets, whether it's 2040, 2050 to hit their net zero. And so for us as a company, we want to help you on that journey. So whether we're making solar mounting gear, cable tray systems. In the current future, we're going to be doing energy storage and BSS products, a variety more coming out over the next 5 years in terms of products and services. everything is geared towards helping our clients reach that net neutrality goal. A couple of markers there for us as a company. We just celebrated our 15-year anniversary this year, being founded in 2007 in Melbourne. We are publicly listed manufacturing facilities across 2 cities in Australia, Indonesia, and China. 15 gigawatts worldwide of installations. The number one brand in Australia, top 5 in China. And our core business as of today is solar mounting or racking products, and also now portable power with cable tray management. In terms of our footprint across the globe, we've got about 5 offices, primarily within Asia Pacific and Australia, with a projects team based out of Hamburg. But we have a vast network of our distributors across the globe there. We are still, in a larger scheme of things, we are a younger company compared to some of the larger module brands out there. However, we believe in terms of the teams that we have and servicing our network, where we have a strong passion to increase and to expand our network further into the other parts of the world, in Europe and the Americas. And to make that happen is the people who back us, which is basically people in our team based in Melbourne, our manufacturing team in China, and a few of our team there in Japan. In terms of the 2 main product lines that I wanted to just showcase to your audience today, is number one is our PV Easy Rack brand, which looks after all of our solar mounting gear, and then Runner, which is our cable tray management solution. In terms of PV Easy Rack, we have a wide variety of products there. But in terms of the 4 main categories, we've got solar roof, which is for roof mount, solar terrace, which is the ground mount structures, Easy Tracker, that pretty much is in the name. And we've got Clenergy Hollywood, which is our Black Series solar mounting, roof mounting gear, which is more of a premium residential product. And we also do ground structures like post mount and carports. In terms of roof mount, we do the whole variety, whether it's penetrative or non-penetrative on tin metal roofs, tile roofs of all the different kinds, and also flat roof structures. In terms of tin roofs, it couples really well with our cable tray systems, which, as you can see there on the bottom end of that roof. Give you an example of an installation here.
So
over
the
at
process
Lexus.
of setting up for the installation here at Lexus, we were able to engage the tech team from Clenergy to ensure that exactly what we were putting on the roof met with the standards of all of our Clenergy gear. The decision for what mounting system we were going to use here at Lexus was a really easy one. We stuck with our tried and true Clenergy PV Easy Rack flush mount for this particular roof installation. We were also super excited to use Clenergy's new to the industry. We chose the Runner gear for the longevity of the cable management. The Runner gear is a MAC product which will sustain itself throughout the lifetime of the solar system.
Cool. In terms of roof mounts, when you have a low pitch or a flat pitch roof there, we do have a variety of solutions to answer this call, whether it's adjustable tilts where the installer or the designer can go to a particular angle of their preference, or we also have pre-assembled products like the tripod series that we have, and we also have our ComT 2.0, which is our commercial tilt system, very, very popular. We just launched it mid this year, and that comes in 5, 10, and 15 degree fixed adjust the tilts. Also with concrete roofs, we've got options there for ballast systems. This is in the event that you've got customers who have a reinforced roof and don't necessarily want to penetrate through that roof for whatever reason. We've got a solution there for that as well. when it comes to metal roofs and when there is absolutely no penetration through screws, then you're looking at using clip lock clamps to grasp the various profiles. And we've got a large variety. This is just a few examples, but depending on the various roofing sheet materials, there's a lot that we've already created. As you know, we've traded across most parts of Asia Pacific, Australia, Europe, so we cover most of them. I'll give you another example here.
So we first came to site in February of 2020. The construction or the main structure was already up and the roof was on. Our main goal was to scope the job and understand how we're going to install from there. There were some specific guidelines that we had to adhere to. The first one was analysing the risk of the pitches of the roof. The second one was maximising the system size with the space we had on the roof.
And the project was started on the 27th of January. During that week, we started with a few guys on site and ramped up between 2 to 6 guys. And it took about 3.5 weeks from start to finish for the installation of the solar system.
It's a clip lock roof, so we've got clip lock clamps on there. So we chose Clenergy for the mounting system on this one. We had to actually engineer the system specifically for this roof. We're up a bit higher here, and through Morwell we do get some extreme winds and some weather. So we got that engineered, and we've actually shortened the clip lock spacing substantially, which increases the structural integrity of the panels while they're on the roof.
So that's an important point that I wanted to I bring out to the audience here, because when you look at panels, inverters, and batteries, this is very much within the electrical engineering world. And when you look at solar mounting gear, this is structural civil engineering, which is very, very different from everything else. And what we look at is terrain. We look at terrain categories. We look at wind regions. We look at durability of the actual roof itself and the purlins and battens. So all those factors tell us whether how many clamps to put on, what's the spacing required, and things like that. And this is where we're obviously working with the module manufacturers, because obviously they have their guidelines as well. What you see in front of you is I just want to give you a sneak peek on our Clenergy Hollywood series, which is when from an this is purely a premium product. It's more about aesthetics, where with all the new black panels, black frame, black backing sheets, and you're looking at a clean finish. We've got rails and clamps and basically everything from a solar mounting for the roof mount. Everything comes in black as well. In terms of ground mounts, whether you're looking a single post, dual post in the middle, or on the far right where we've got our Solar Terrace 5, which is a much more highly engineered product. The first two, Solar Terrace 2 and 3, that's pretty much off the shelf that you can purchase, and it just goes from durability from left to right. So depending again on soil conditions, wind and terrain, we'd be recommending a particular choice there for yourself. In terms of tracker systems, whether you're going for single panels, dual panels in the middle, or dual panels with smart solar tracking systems, where it's actually looking at AI algorithms of weather patterns that's happening in real time and adjusting the system accordingly, and at the same time looking at obviously the sun's angle. In terms of ground structures, an off-the-shelf product would be our Easy Shade 2.0. That one comes in single bay and double bay, in silver and in black, fairly customizable and obviously scalable. So that basically, if you're looking at doing multiples, you're just stacking them basically in a row. The Easy Shade Razor, which is in the middle, the design is slightly different with a singular post on one end, which makes getting in and getting out of the vehicles much easier. This is an engineered product, and so this is where your team, you are working with our engineers to make a bespoke kit there for you, and then that's shipped directly to your site. And we also have options there for post mount, which is from a singular up to even 8 to 10 panels. And that basically fits regular or even XL panels. Just to give you an example there for a tracker site and our capabilities. This was in 2020. They started the commissioning on the think in September, and basically by December, 293 megawatts was pretty much done. You can see that this is a dual panel system with our AI algorithm, as well as being on a slight tilt. Just conscious for time, so I'll skip on to the next. So, in terms of globally as a brand, we've done installations all across Europe, the United States, obviously all across Australia in some of the most prime locations, airports and government housing, and some of the most tallest buildings the country has to offer. And with that, all of the conditions that come with it in terms of high wind capacities, and which is one of the biggest factors when installing a solar system is where the wind load is on the edges of your system, and are you putting three rails down, how close is your spacing, etc. These are all the kind of discussions that we will have with our civil engineers. Coming over quickly to our cable trays solution called Runner. One of the big differences that we have compared to most other brands is that all of our trays have a matte finish, which is a magnesium zinc alloy, and that extra solution, that extra dip as a premium product, basically when you have any blemishes or any kind of cuts through swath onto your cable trays, it's a self-healing solution that basically over time heals itself. So it's definitely a robust product there for commercial systems. Additionally, from a solar perspective, we have the lids that have a standard clean lid, but we also have a solar DC lid, which actually have the words warning solar DC embossed onto the tray. So your installers don't have to put any physical labels. They don't have to do any spray painting with stencils. You can leave the spray paint can in the van and just get pre-embossed warning labels on your cable trays. It has a various set of variety of accessories, whether you're going for a skinnier a cable tray called the MT cable, and it also does come with all of its accessories, which you can see here in a visual example, whether you're going from high to low, taking turns, junctions, T-cross junctions, etc. We've got the whole lot that will help you within your CNI installation. In terms of with Clenergy, what's important to us is also to give back as a company. We have our CEO there in the top right hand side, Daniel Hong. He champions a very active lifestyle, and that he puts it across to all of our offices and all our teams. We're very glad to be working here, and it's a brand we definitely love. For the last 12 years, we've been donating to the It's Time Foundation, which what they do is they build ground mount systems across the Pacific Islands at remote schools, thereby giving those schools 24/7 power. And we've been doing that for the last 12 years now, and we've just commissioned our 25th school. Also with universities, we champion the electrification of transportation, which is such a sister cause to renewables. And so we support the Monash University and their F1 EV program. In terms of online presence, we do a lot of podcasts and our own panel discussions on various topics with various stakeholders in the various regions. So there's a lot of content out there where we're talking to panel manufacturers, inverter manufacturers, module level inverter manufacturers, people in government departments, which champion renewables, etc., all on our website. So I invite you to go have a look at those. Also, in terms of our one of the edges that we provide to our customers is the added education training, not only to our product and to our customers, but also to their customers, and also definitely collaborating with all the various other manufacturers and stakeholders out there to bring quality training and content to our audience. If you're looking for products in the region, I'd invite you to go to clenergy.com, go onto our little menu bar there and select distributors. And then through the filter, you can click on Middle East and you'll get our local distributors there. And a part of this whole venture is also, yes, we are actively looking at new partners within the region. So we invite you to send us an inquiry and let's start a discussion. We do have our own newsletter, so invite you to subscribe to that as well on our website. And in terms of all of our channels to connect with us, we're right now across 23 different social channels, but these are some of the primary ones there, depending on what type of content you are looking at. However, one thing I would recommend is our Facebook learning group, which is at the bottom there, Clenergy Club. So if you've got any structural civil engineering questions, you put it on there. We've curated a bunch of installers and technical support people, personnel from around the world who will answer your questions in real time. That's it from myself. Big thank you to everyone. Do ask us any questions there in the Q&A. Thank you. And now over back to you, Sakshi, for the panel discussion.
Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. Here, I would like to take a moment and make a small announcement. Attendees can post their questions in the Q&A box on their right, and our panelists will answer those questions at the end of the panel discussion session. And allow me to introduce the proficient panel lineup we have for today. Mr. Lalit Basha from Elite Energy, who will be moderating the session. Mr. Nat Vora from Solawadi, Mr. Ali Akbar Ajmerwala from Pavilion Renewables, Mr. Jacob from Clenergy, Mr. Mohammed from Sun Synergy, and Mr. Walid Saleh from World Solutions and Services. The session will be led by Mr. Basha, and now I welcome all our panelists on the screen and hand it over to Mr. Basha. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Fermani, and I would like to thank Solar Quarter and Cleanergy for this session and support. Actually, we want today to extend our discussion regarding the C&I projects or C&I market in Middle East. And today I would like to start asking Mr. Vora, who is the CFO of Solar Wadi. And I know Solar Wadi investing in build, own, operate renewable energy projects. So, Mr. Vora, what do you, I need your opinion in the type of PV modules that you recommend to save spaces for C&I projects and its reflection on financial indicators such as IRR and LCOI.
Yeah,
Please.
so sure. So, like I was mentioning earlier, we are currently working on an EPC for about 10 megawatt project. And one of the recommendations that we made was to go with N-type modules. The reason we wanted to go with N-type modules is one is it's higher efficiency, also uses lesser space. So ideally, the number of modules you require becomes lesser, the space used up is lesser. That is a good saving in terms of the amount of lease land that you have to take. So that's one saving. The second thing is higher efficiency typically means a lower levelized cost of energy per kilowatt hour. So the higher efficiency modules mean more power per square meter. That's what it basically means. And more power, less modules, less space. Accordingly, less building costs, less labor. And all of these costs at the end of the day drive the overall price of this electricity generated downward. And that's what everybody's preferred thing is, of course. And for us, ultimately, all of this allows us to either, be a much more competitive for our clients that we are, because like I said, we build the plant, we invest in it as well. So lower the investment and better the returns means a much better IRR for the investor. And if the investor is the client themselves, then again, they're getting a much better value for the dollar invested in the project. So, given all of that, I think, for me, I've been recommending to my team, and our team has suggested all of this, that we prefer to go with the N-type modules. That's it from my side on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And if you can add, by the way, as we know now that there are a trading market in carbon
Yes.
certification or REC certificates, how does this makes the how does the carbon trading makes the market more lucrative in Middle East?
So, I mean, look, one of the things is ultimately anybody who's investing in it also is looking for the kind of returns that they can generate other than being, more sustainable, linked to sustainability, sustainable growth, which is important for all the ESG reporting. One of the things is the carbon credits themselves are now being traded on the emissions trading systems. They generate, and recently when I looked at it, the price was $6, and this keeps changing. It is expected to go much higher as we
Yeah,
get more familiar with this. But the renewable energy certificates is basically a market-based instrument, and it certifies that the owner, the bearer of this certificate owns, say, 1 megawatt hour of electricity generated from a renewable energy resource. So basically, once the power, let's say me, I am the generator, has been loaded on to the fed into the grid, then the REC becomes valid and can be sold in the open market as an energy commodity. Basically, there might be some industries that need to get some additional carbon credits or these renewable energy credits for offsetting the amount of carbon that they are emitting to achieve their own net zero levels or whatever reduction levels that they have. So RECs are also called, green tags, renewable certificates, renewable energy credits, those kind of things. But basically, renewable energy certificates provide proof that the owner of the instrument has 1 megawatt hour of renewable energy and can be sold in the open market. Thanks, Vasha.
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Now I want to talk with or to ask Mr. Ali Akbar Ajmirwala. Ali is head of solar department in Pavilion Energy. I would like to ask you about the technology. It's a technological question actually regarding the inverters, the C&I inverters. Uh, what are some of the most recent technology advancement in string inverters that have been made to accommodate the improvement of the PV modules? Please.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Basha, for the question. So there has been a lot of advancement that has been, seen in the inverter market itself. The primary thing that was mostly required was for the inverters to meet the, catch up with the current rating for the modules itself, because we have seen a lot of modules now crossing 600, 650, 700, which means a very high short circuit current, and a lot of string inverters specifically were lagging behind, meeting those specific modules. And now we have seen a lot of all the major companies in the inverter market have come up with inverters which fulfills this requirement. So that is the first thing that has happened. The second most important thing that has happened is introduction of arc fault detection on the DC side. Right now, what has happened is, NEC, the US code already takes care of how the arc fault are dealt with on the DC side of the modules, but this part of the world, that was still a vague area, and a lot of inverters manufacturers have come up with this automated arc fault detection circuit inside, inbuilt in the inverter itself, which helps in reducing, the fire risk at the DC side. So that is one of the second thing that has happened. One of the other things that has developed in the inverter market is, previously when we talk about maximum power point tracking of the power, right? A lot of companies used to use your standard perturb and observe incremental conductance methods to track the maximum power point. but now the companies have moved on to much more advanced algorithms which helps in tracking the global maximum power point. So we have seen from our sites that some modules which are slightly under shadow during some part of the day because of one of the other reasons, we have seen the increased output performance from those projects because we are able to track the global maximum power point, right? So this is another important thing that has happened in the inverter market. And from an O&M point of view, right, operation and maintenance point of view, we have seen if you take an inbuilt IV curve scanning with the inverter itself, right? We've seen way more reduction in the maintenance times. We every now and then we see that the inverters, some strings are faulty. There is some issue with any of the strings. It makes it very easy to catch those strings. Specifically if you're doing projects like big roof mounts where we have 5-6 mega on a single roof, it becomes very tough to track each string, and a scanning of IV curve does help in that, right? So this is one of the other things that has happened. And uh, yeah,
How
so
please, sorry, how do you see that? How do you see the compatibility between the new module, the new bifacial modules with the string inverters? Please.
yeah, so what we've seen is, as I said, because the new bifacial modules have higher current ratings, so what we have seen is the inverter. Still, there are only a few inverters have come up with this technology of higher short circuit current. Changing the fuse. It's not only about, to be honest, not only about the fuse or the SPDs on the DC side, but it's also about how much current can a single MPPT take, right? So previously it was 30 amperes for two strings. Now we have seen a lot of people moving on to 44 amperes, 20 amperes on each string, right? So there has been it was long due, to be honest, right? Because the inverter market had to catch up with the module market, and I think a few companies have already done that. Few companies are still in process of doing it, right? And I've also seen the other challenge that we previously faced with our projects was most of the, or not most, some of the string inverters, they used to come with a higher starting voltage, right? There are inverters which still starts at 300, 350 volts, right? Which meant from a CNI point of view, which meant a lot of loss in early morning, late evening power, right? So we've seen there are companies who have developed inverters which starts at as low as 160 volts, right, starting voltage. So that also has helped a lot in terms of increasing the generation, at least from the some part of generation.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And this surely will increase the revenue of the projects. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you, Mr. Ali. And I would like to ask Mr. Muhammad, who is the CEO of Sun Synergy, about the storage system. So, talking about the battery storage system, Mr. Muhammad, can you tell us, please, what can be the added value of using storage or battery storage in C&I projects? Mr. Muhammad, do you hear me? Mr. Muhammad? Maybe you are muted. Can you check? Okay, might then I can let Mr. Uh, Ali is, maybe you have some problem also in the network. Mr. Ali, can you
Yeah.
add something here as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have seen, as Pavilion, we do a lot of BESS systems as well. Now,
Good.
we were long waiting for some of the inverter manufacturers to come up with their own BESS system, because we generally tend to do BESS along with solar. And the primary challenge that we initially faced was not a lack of proper communication between different inverters and the BESS system. Because if I use a different inverter for BESS, then generally there is a communication gap in between them. So generally, primarily the reason we use BESS is any excess amount of solar can be stored back into the BESS system, right? So if the inverters don't communicate, then it creates a lot of challenges. We had BSS at central stage, but there was a gap to be filled at CNI stage, which we are seeing now being filled, right, by a lot of companies in and around the primary. So what we see, the primary, there are use of BESS comes into picture when we are dealing with markets which are which don't have net metering. There are quite a few markets in this region which still does not have net metering, and the client still has a goal to meet to go renewable, to go solar, right? So what happens is we are not able to support them as a developer because we can't work with a client where the power is curtailed, right? So what we do with those type of projects is we do install solar, and obviously the solar has to be sized according to their requirement, but there is always a caveat to where there will be excess solar which will have to be curtailed if there is no net metering. In those cases we do install small amount of solar, a small amount of battery system, where the access can go to the battery, and that type of system helps those clients to go solar with a developer, right, rather than doing an capex project. So that is one of the places where we have found that CNI BSS comes to be very useful. The other places, I know it's difficult to believe, but in this part of the world there are still a lot of areas where the grid hasn't reached, right, because of the geography of the country, or whatever it is. In those cases, what we have found is a financial model with a combination of solar, BSS, and DG as a backup makes way more sense than doing only DG, right? That is one of the reasons, and in a lot of part of this, where the let's say where the client is based. If he wants to get a grid connected, there is a very high initial fees that he has to pay, right? Which is sunk cost for him. He's not getting his money back at all. But what we do, what we work with those clients is, do one thing: invest that into the battery energy storage system. We will develop solar for you, and you already have DG as a backup, right? So it makes a lot more financial sense in those type of projects as well. And one of the other parts that we have seen is, there are some MNCs who have facilities around the world, and for them to attain their global sustainability goals, they have been requested to have no DG as a backup, or even for the, let's say, even for the most critical load, they don't want any DG as a backup. So in those cases we do provide BSS systems, so that they can have an assured backup power where there's no DG involved. So these are the few places where we have seen the clientele for BSS, and the CNI, the way communication between the the proficient inverter manufacturer coming up with their own BSS has helped a lot in the CNI sector.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Vora, do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, we talk about the technicality of using BESS. So, what's your opinion nowadays of using storage system in line with for the CNI projects,
So look,
especially
at the
in
end
Gulf
of
region, let's say?
yeah. Like Ali said, basically at the end of the day, there are areas, especially in Muscat, in Oman, where there are still areas where the grid is unable to reach. Now, in those areas, one can consider looking at microgrids or battery storage systems and things like that. But overall, is it something that is allowed by the regulation? Is one thing, and number two is the economics. Now, if you are in a market like Oman, where the tariff itself is quite low, one of the cheapest tariffs actually in the GCC, then competing against that kind of a tariff with a battery system becomes not possible. So you're just live, whatever live power you can generate. Also, the regulations in Oman, as they stand today, there is no formal renewable sector regulations to date. But as they stand today, I cannot export to the grid, and I have no other option but to supply to the grid. So off grid is not something that works in a van. So in that scenario, the BESS doesn't work. But then there are certain scenarios where if the power, if the more you're able to generate and store at a reasonable cost, that's a saving as compared to what you would pay for the tariff, which is the local tariff. So from a commercial point of view, in certain projects, it would make sense, and that's the best option. If storage was not as expensive as it is today, then it would be more widely used and would also, allow the solar generating companies in these regions to sell more power and thereby make those projects much more lucrative.
Thank you very much. Mr. Muhammad, do you hear me?
I think Mohammed has some kind of technical
No,
challenge.
I think he's in the panel, but can you
Yeah.
check the mic, please?
Mr. Mohammed, are you able to hear
Are you
us?
here? Yeah,
You're here.
finally. Okay.
Apologize because I had some guests, they just left, so I had to mute a little bit myself. So go ahead, please. For the question now, I'm listening. I apologize, I was not
Okay.
there for the question.
So
Yes,
your
brother.
question
Good.
uh, will be about the mounting structure. How do
Yes.
you see the best or optimal structure technology that be suitable for different type of roofs? We know that we have concrete flat roof, corrugated sheet, bricks in some countries like Germany, or some bricks in Middle East as well, in Saudi. So what do you prefer to use, even if we want to compare between aluminum, galvanized steel, or magnesium zinc coated? So please provide us with your experience, please.
Sure. You have to more or less adjust to the environment and the weather, wind speed, and different factors that will affect what type of structure you require for that particular region or country. So, in some cases, you have to go with the galvanized steel structure if you need strength and power. In some cases, aluminium would do the job because it's light. Also, now the cost of aluminium is getting very close to the galvanized steel. So it's more or less depending on the case you have. In a standard, I say not standard. There is a trend now to use aluminium, as per our colleague from Clear Energy. I think I've seen their video earlier yesterday, and also probably they did today. They have done quite excellent job, and I see their quality of work with this using the aluminium. Maybe he can also shed some light on this. Um, there is no particular preference. Like I said, it go case by case, region wise, and most important is the quality of work, not really just what you're using, whether it's aluminium or steel, because as you know now with the with the current situation, we don't know the raw material availability, which one you would have more steel structure, or you would have, for example, aluminium. So it also has a big factor, availability of which material in the region, as per the lack of raw material now globally, especially due to the war in Ukraine. So there is, let's say, several factors. Aluminium would be definitely now a good choice nowadays, as it's very solid, very strong, and it provides flexibility to the installer. Also, a good idea would be to get some feedback from the local installers as per their experience in the region, which would be the best trend in that particular country or region. So, yeah, this is basically what I can say about it.
Yeah,
Cost-wise, of
thank
course, now it's not really too much difference between both.
thank
And probably Samir can shed some more details because I've seen their job and it's quite
yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
That's it. I wanna ask also Mr. Samir if you like to add something here, please.
Yep, sure. With my presentation, you'd have seen obviously, yes, we have non-penetrative, penetrative. You've got ballast systems. If you wanted to put carports as well on a shopping center, third level car, that's also an option. But let me take you through some of the things which sometimes roof mounting we can't control, and what I guess from your the solar designer's perspective and a structural civil engineering perspective, that is something that you need to look at. Sometimes when we look at metal roofs, depending how old the building is, could be a decade, 2, 3 decades more. Those roofs, when the roof makers made that aluminum or that tin or metal roof, it was for the intention to keep the weather out, maybe to hold some air conditioning systems, not really to take an entire solar system, right? So the considerations is looking at the purlins, looking at your battens. What is the strength capabilities there? If you're looking at a roof sheet that is non-penetrative, that means there are small clips underneath that roof material, clipping onto the actual purlin. So that means your entire solar system, which it is using by clip lock clamps, clamping onto the roof profiles, but at the end of the day, it is the small clips that are underneath the roof that are holding on to the battens. So if it's a strong cyclone or hurricane or something like this coming through, uh, from a civil engineering perspective, yes, the from the top level, everything all looks okay, but there needs to be some investigation on what's happening underneath. The other thing that we see mainly in Europe is obviously ballast systems. We don't see that much in other parts of the world. Um, and that is when you have a flat, sometimes flat or concrete roofs, they don't want to penetrate. Why? Because you think, okay, I might get roof leaks. So instead of drilling holes and using chemical concrete, they want to use ballast systems, which is fine because in Europe, a lot of the buildings were initially designed to take a lot of heavy snow load, right? So when the roof has already been designed to take that kind of load, adding the solar in most scenarios it's fine. But in countries which never had snow, they don't put this consideration in, and normally the roofing structure does not cannot take that weight. So we have customers who say they want a ballast system. We give them all the calculations, and then we tell them how much the cost for concrete is for all the concrete blocks. Then they say, okay, go and penetrate, it's fine. you know so again, this is where the cost comes in. So whether you're going to go aluminium, whether you're going to go with a steel product which is coated in zinc aluminium, yes, that all comes to what of the price flavor of the day is. And then it's just all about the various safety considerations that you need to take into place because, for example, today in Australia, it is one of the highly regulated countries when it comes to solar. They have just implemented new structural engineering standards, which actually prevents CNI installations from doing slightly larger what they could do before, because basically what they've done is considering the data of what's happened in the last 40 to 50 years of climate change. Australia has faced bushfires, lots of flooding, lots of different calamities, and so because of all those things, their new formulas actually push the solar further into the structure of the building for the high wind loads on the edges. So we are actually seeing slightly, maybe a 10, maybe let's say 5 to 6% smaller systems now happening for CNI, which will be now implemented in about 4 months' time with the new standards. So these are things that are going to come for the rest of the world as well. So this is just some of the reservations. Oh, and one last thing I would say, whenever doing any projects, whether it's mounting panels, inverters, whatever it is, please always get spares. This is one thing we always tell our customers: always get spares for your risk management, long term of your system. You need to always have that as a backup. Yeah, that's my two bits that I'll throw in. Thank you for the
Yeah.
question.
Thank you very much. Um, okay, thank you all for your inputs. And Mr. Walid, are you here? Mr. Walid is here?
I can cover for him if you like, no problem.
No, because he was here, just because we need his input for sure. But I want to
Yeah,
ask him about his. Oh, Mr. Walid is here. Okay, Mr. Walid, I'd like
he's coming now. Okay.
to get your input regarding the use of battery storage in the communication sector as well, and the needs of that at this time. Let's say at these days, because the price is unstable, as we know. And what's your opinion nowadays to use storage system or to base the communication, let's say, systems on diesel generators? Please.
Thank you, Laith. And unfortunately, I had some technical issues. Well, from telecommunication perspective, the market approach is always a bit different. The availability is needed 24/7 for several reasons and for regulatory compliances. The battery storage in these applications is mandatory. We cannot really run those sites in a low carbon emission manner without the batteries. The elaboration is always just in technology. We can see the improvement of battery life cycle, the number of cycles, and the lifetime of the product itself. But it is always mandatory.
Okay, thank you. And just a question, by the way, because I was asked this question many times from the communication providers. You know, the big stations are based or are installed using the lattice tower. So, can we install PV modules or PV system using this tower, or it should be standalone or something like that? Because I'm asking that because most of those towers have a limited area around, or the rented area around by the provider. So please, what's your opinion in this regard?
Look, in that those structures were initially designed to withstand a limited number of equipment and antenna to boost the coverage around. Installing PV panels on these structures will increase their resistance to wind dramatically, and that will put the structure in a no safe situation. On the other hand, the inclination angle of the panels on the towers will be quite limited, and in some cases it will be nearly to 90 degrees. With that, the efficiency of the panel will reduce dramatically, and the generated power will even reduce further. Now, there were different attempts to find solutions for these, and we have seen some in Dubai, where they still try to mount the panels in different ways, avoiding or minimizing the shadowing effect on multi layers of panels to overcome it. And I would say up to in the telecom, the load is small, so up to 3 kilowatt of DC load, that can be convenient, and that can be solved, but that should not for sure include the 5G technology. This 5G, which a lot hear about, is a trending technology nowadays, consume a lot of power, perhaps more than the other three previous technology all combined. So within the cities where we are seeing the 5G deployments, solar panels or solar energy must be deployed separately, not on the structure itself.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your input. I asked that because I found some even pictures through the internet using PV panels at the towers. Anyway, thank you all, and thank you for your inputs. We'd like to see if we have any questions. So
Yes, I'll just screen some questions
yeah,
here.
please. Yeah.
I think most of the questions have been answered in the chat box already. Um,
Yeah.
so I think, is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Basha?
I want to add something regarding the question that asked yesterday. Mr. Walid surely covered everything. We were talking about the prices of the storage system and the technology price more than the brand, let's say grade A, B, or C. Also, I want to add there are different technologies. It's not only it's lithium ion batteries are not only lithium. There are many technologies such as NCM technology, which fabricate or manufactured mainly by Samsung, LPF batteries as well, which is a bit cheaper than NCM. And the difference here is the kind of safety cycles, discharge and charging time. So maybe also Mr. Walid like to add in the technology issues, and this is my last comment here. Please.
Thank you, Lai. No, actually, look, the problem that we are facing in the market is a bit of people getting to know more about the technology of the batteries. Not all batteries are alike, and for battery storage, I think, from my perspective at least, the lithium ion for now, or the lithium ion phosphate, if you want to be more precise, is so far the best for the heavy application and for the situation where we don't have much energy and we require fast charging. But if we have enough charging time, then I would say lithium is expensive, and we go back to the 2-volt lead acid battery. That will be more economical. Throughout the discussion also, I think Mr. Nadbora had mentioned about the cost efficiency of having the energy storage in C&I market. Personally, I'm still a bit concerned about how efficient it is or how cost efficient it is, especially in factories where we have heavy power consumption in evening times. So I don't know if Mr. Nat can comment on that, please.
So my perspective is I'm saying that given the cost today, it's not the most efficient option, but in certain high cost markets, it can work. It's not a solution for 24 hours power, but if you need certain extra backup for times when there might be unreliability on other avenues, then it can be used. Again, not this isn't a be all and end all solution for everybody, but in certain specific cases, yes, it will work.
If this is the case,
And the extremely heavy industries, yes, who require high consumption, both from an efficiency point of view, from an operations and efficiency point of view, from a return on investment, they're not okay at all because you need the volume of batteries required and the cost would not justify the amount of power you would be able to pull on at that point of time.
Thank you.
in that case, sorry, Mr. Lais,
Walid,
in that case,
just in a bit,
yes.
please, because we don't have time. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Last 30 seconds. Last 30 seconds.
No, actually, I'm just much interested, and we know that sometimes solar solution as a standalone solution in C&I might not be the appropriate. But yesterday we discussed about hybrid, and perhaps when we have a combination of different clean energy solutions, we can achieve a low carbon emission solution. So I'm just asking here, if we have the solar panels in place, we don't want to invest much in the energy storage, which is extremely expensive. and we don't want to rely on a diesel generator to fill those gaps. What would be a carbon or a low carbon emission solution? I don't know, maybe
Hydrogen.
that will be a new panel topic.
Yeah, that's
Might
hydrogen probably.
might be this for the second the next session. So
Yes.
it will be
Yeah,
considered. Yeah,
perhaps, because it is a challenge. It is a
yeah.
challenge. We don't want to turn on diesel generators. Energy storage is extremely expensive. Solar is good during the day, but will not cover the night. So, what is the solution?
Might be the next topic, Mrs. Firmani. Storage.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely. Maybe
the
we could
challenges.
consider it as the next conference's topic for sure. And I would
Okay.
like to extend my gratitude to all the panelists and all the attendees that we have today. A very special thanks to our partner Clenergy and our amazing moderator. We promise to come back with more exciting sessions soon, and the floor is now open for networking. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Sakshi. Thanks
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you
Basha.
all.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
It
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure being
Thank you.
here. And Basha, you were always as amazing moderator, so it helped us as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye.